Hello, hello, and welcome to Catalyst MLM. I'm Brian Switchko, and today on the show we have Shajen Joy Aziz. Shajen has a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in education, and is currently working on her second master's degree in psychology. She is the co-author and co-creator of Discover the Gift, the book, and the movie with her brother, which is absolutely amazing, and we're going to get into. She is a founding member of the Southern California Association of Transformational Leaders, and her work focuses on the impact of emotions on individuals' ability to thrive personally, professionally, physiologically, and spiritually. Thank you so much for being on.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Before I get into the gift and the act of discovering it, which I love the title because it just draws you in, and then you actually realize what it is, and eyes get opened. But before we get to that, I kind of want to talk about multi-level marketing and what we talked about a little bit before the interview, is that I think it's really important for people to understand what this is, because if they don't, then the business side of it doesn't matter. They have to understand this about themselves so that they can succeed elsewhere. And I think that you say it,
yes,
not even succinctly, but just so powerfully, and that people can connect with it. So the question of the day is, what is the gift?
The gift is you. It's who you are. It's your source, and it's your authentic nature. You know, that's really what it is, and it's your strengths and what's right and wonderful about you, and that's what the gift is. And it's about you sharing who you are in a powerful, positive way to really create the conscious, compassionate world that I believe in. You know, one person, one family, one community at a time.
It sounds amazing, but then actually experiencing it is a whole new level. And I know that you and your brother created this together, and it was created, correct me if I'm wrong, from a single question that you asked your brother, who's a movie producer, and the two worlds collided. Yes. So what was that question, and how did that inspire such a movement?
That's a great question. Well, that question really was very simple, and it was, when is the work you're going to do in the world match the man you've become? Because it's not a match. And so I was really struggling as a human service provider and someone who's just always believed in doing best for children because they grow up to be us. I was working in Vermont as a school counselor, and I really was struggling understanding why he had so much power in the world and could create huge things that really moved people globally, yet was doing it in a way I didn't see that was having a positive impact. And yet his personal world, he was really supporting others to shift and change and transform. And so I wanted to see if he could do something
there's
different.
So many people out there that, you know, the old adage of hating their job, hating is kind of not only is it a very negative word, but it also is very general. It has no specificity to it. Not resonating with a job, not connecting with it, you know, working to live versus living to work, that kind of distinction. So what was it like in that transformation, both for him and for you? And, you know, did you know where you were going when you started the journey, or was it a discovery process?
Beautiful question. I think it's all a discovery process. I think we are all evolution in action with every choice we make. And so I think we're all on a journey. And if you had asked me 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I asked that question, if I would be here today speaking with you and being published all over the world, I never would have written that for myself at all. And so when you really step into who you really are, your authentic source, that still small voice within, as Jack Canfield calls it, when you really listen to that and you step into that, a journey unfolds that you can only imagine until you're willing to step through your fear.
And
that's a big piece of it.
And I recently wrote an article in which the entire basis of the article was that fear is a choice. The danger is real. And, you know, if you're talking about extreme sports, which was a metaphor I used, the danger is real, but fear is a choice. And you talked about, you said it before, is that you always loved to write, but you never did. You know, when you were a kid, you kind of just stopped doing it, and you kind of identified fear. What did it feel like going from having something that you love, not connecting with the reason that you were doing it, and then finding that reason and actually connecting with it?
Wow, that's a great question. So before really stepping into what I knew to be true for myself and what I know to be true, what happened is that for me, and I think it's true for many people, is that within ourselves, we live in this world within our own mind, and an idea, an aha moment pops up and you go, yes. And your immediate thing is, I want to go do that because you're inspired. And then immediately what happens is, because we're all conditioned by our parents and society and our friends and our workplace, is that all the reasons why you can't show up, all the things you're supposed to do instead, all of those other pieces. And what happens is that when we choose to live in that world of, I think I should do that, they want me to do that, what happens is we live other people's lives instead of living our own. And so the idea is to really, when I got in touch with my voice and really honored that I had something important to say, and even if it was only me who listened, that is just as important. And that's part of the thing, is that it's about honoring your voice, honoring your positive wisdom and your nature, and speaking it out loud. Because when you do, you raise your self-esteem internally. And that immediately gives you energy to then take a step through your fear. And so it's really about that. It's about knowing that you make a difference. And I had to get really clear with myself that I make a difference to myself and to everyone around me, just as because of who I am. And so when I really stepped through that, what I found was a life that I had only dreamed of and didn't even know I was really dreaming that big. I had no idea. And people that I looked up to and were people that I thought, wow, if I could ever meet so-and-so, are my friends and my colleagues. And the only reason is because I was willing. I was willing to risk stepping through my fear and being who I really am. And so that's been the process for me, and it wasn't easy. However, that first step is the hardest part. And so I really want to support people, and you and the people who are watching and listening, just take that step. That one step makes all the difference and gives you so much momentum to take the next.
A quote that I found ages ago that it just made me smile was, true faith is taking the first step when you can't see the rest of the staircase. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the same with learning about who you really are and our authentic nature and ourselves.
We talked about it a little bit before, is, I'll tell it this way, is that Discover the Gift, and correct me if I'm wrong if the numbers are different here, but it's been translated into 10 different languages. And
yes, about to be 11 or about to be in Hebrew.
That is awesome, and I don't know how to say that in Hebrew. What I know how to say in Hebrew is not appropriate for this interview. Very little, very specific. But that's amazing, and that's a kind of a very simplistic metric of how far that it's spread, but it's global. You have global ambassadors. It's in audio, it's in video, it's a movie. Yes. It featured Jack Canfield, the Dalai Lama, and so many amazing people.
Yes.
But you mentioned before that when you hear that people are taking it with them in their car, it gives you this feeling. And that's, what I think that you were just describing. But when was the first time that you felt that feeling where you realized that you had the ability to make that big of an impact?
Wow, I'll tell you exactly when this young, so interesting you asked that question, this young, wonderful young man from the Philippines, who thankfully survived the awful weather they've just had. He wrote me and he said, "You don't know me. You probably won't ever respond to me, but I want to tell you what Discover the Gift has done for me." And he started sharing his dreams and all the people he'd read and all the different worlds he'd done. And yet it wasn't until he was talking Napoleon Hill, The Secret, all of these just really fabulous works in the world that I believe in myself and love to listen to and follow. And he said it wasn't until Discover the Gift that I actually opened up. And he said it changed his life, and his biggest dream would be if I would just say hello to him and connect with him, and he had no money. And I immediately was like, of course, so I responded to him. And what happened in that interaction was this young man whose dream was to bring organic and sustainable gardening to the isolated hillsides of the Philippines and teach them about heirloom seed preservation. This is what was on this young man's mind in the Philippines, and he didn't know how to do it. And it was his dream, and it was the gift he felt he had to share. And so I offered to be his mentor, and he took it. And just as an exchange, and he's a very dear, dear young man to me still today, and went and did that work, and for 2 years traveled throughout the Philippines, sharing organic gardening, sustainable knowledge, and heirloom seed preservation.
That's awesome.
And that that opened my world up. And I hear from people, and I'm so grateful every day all over the world, and their stories impact me. And I have never turned someone away from connecting with them initially, because I think it's really important when people reach out.
It's hugely powerful. And I think that in multi-level marketing, as it was described to me 11 years ago, was personal development with a check attached. And that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's, you know, I call it now just, I like it better as rewarded personal development, because the check doesn't, that's not all of it. You know, the things that I personally have learned in how to grow a business have helped in relationships, have helped in getting customer support from companies, like, you know, everything throughout my life. And it's important to kind of understand that power of resonating with who you truly are and doing that. Now, it has nothing to do with, and I don't think anyone would disagree with this, is it has nothing to do with the company or the product. It has to do with the way in which you do it. And so
absolutely,
how would you go about, and I know it's in the book, so people should absolutely read the book and watch a movie, or both. And both. And both.
Definitely both,
and
yes.
So and the audio, and then learn Hebrew and read it. No, okay. But so what would you just say to someone before they get to that point, in terms of how can they determine if something is, they need to do it differently, or if they need to do something different?
That's a really great question. So I'm not exactly sure the specific part you're looking for, because I think that answer is throughout Discover the Gift, in the book and the movie, that there's different aha moments people will have. And differently or different. For me, it's about authenticity. It's about what really lights you up and inspires you. Because when you share from your heart, you really attract, it's magnetic, right? And people automatically want to know more of it because you're so lit up. You know, in the training, I do global trainings for Discover the Gift, and I train trainers and coaches, and we have one coming up February 22nd and 23rd in Los Angeles. And so I'm really excited about that. And part of what I teach people, and this is part of where the multi-level marketing, interestingly enough, comes into play, I think, with Discover the Gift, even though it's very different than that, is that Discover the Gift is a global platform, and it's a global platform for you as well. If you want to come and get trained by me and really get certified in the principles and understand them, what happens is that we teach you in that space how to inspire others by speaking authentically from your heart. Because the platform is for your gift, not mine. Right? It's just Discover the Gift, the platform, and it's for you to stand up and share it. However, what really works in sales across the board in any way, shape, or form is when the person who's doing the selling really truly believes themselves what they're up to. And so that's my answer to that, authenticity.
I mean, you talked about selling, but I think, and it was interesting, because of all the interviews that I've done with successful leaders of different companies, they all said the same thing, which was completely unintentional, but they all said to some manner that in order to be successful, you have to first, in 2 steps, focus on yourself internally, and then help others focus on themselves, and that's it.
Yes, that's exactly it. And in Discover the Gift book, we have a whole piece about the inner work and the inter work. So you have to do the work within, and then you do the work with others, right, outside of yourself. And
so once you're working on your mindset, and you're working on that inner work, not necessarily the inter work of working with other people, but what about the action stages? We talked about it a little bit before, in terms of setting goals, having visualizations, and projecting out the future, but then making it happen. How does that interact?
Yes, that's a really great question. You know, in Discover the Gift, we have 8 steps, and the first one is receptivity, step 1, and that's being open. You can't do anything or go anywhere or take a step in any direction until you're open to that possibility. And then intention comes into play. And you have to be really clear. Intention is really about your own clarity. What are you really up to? What are you intending? You know, and it's about riding a wave. If you're a surfer, all the way to the shore, that's pure intention. And then there's many other steps that come along. But after writing Discover the Gift and really diving in deeper and people from all over the world asking me so many questions about different things, there's an answer I came up with. And there's actually two answers. People say, how do I discover my gift? That's the big question I get all the time. Read the book. The second one is, how do I activate it? Read the book, watch the movie, and there are some simple answers I came back with. And then when people want to go deeper in, they can contact me and we can coach or counsel or do whatever, and I'll take you deeper. However, the first answer is focus on what's right and wonderful about you. Focus on your strengths, on what inspires you, and focus on what's right about you. Because when we start to shift our mindset on what's right about us, we start to be open and receptive to new ideas and new ways of being that we couldn't see before. And so that's a real piece that's like number one. And so number two, the answer I give is the 4 I's. I came up with this concept called the 4 I's, and it's insight, intention, integrity, and involvement.
I like the 4th eye.
Those are 4, yeah, thank you, 4 key pieces, right? That all of them, when braided together, will actually create the success and the abundance and the movement anyone wants in their life. And it's really about those pieces and understanding how everything we do makes a difference. So what we think, how we speak, and the actions we put into the world have a big impact on our lives.
It's interesting that you talk about the words, and I mean actions and words actually both, but I like words. So let's go with words. When you're, so I've been working with people both from a training perspective, but also from a recruiting perspective and leadership, so on and so forth. That carries out into every aspect of my life, the ability to hear what people aren't saying. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm really excited to, man, all right, one of my favorite examples is, myself and my friend were standing on a street corner years and years and years ago, and we saw, and this is Vermont, so it was surprising, we saw a Lamborghini drive by, and which is a big deal, because potholes, why would you have a Lamborghini? It didn't have Vermont plates, so I'll give him that. But potholes don't have a Lamborghini in Vermont. So they are all-wheel drive. All right, I'm getting distracted. So he says, man, if I could only have that car. And I said, oh, I'm excited for when I'm going to have that car. And it was, it doesn't matter if you're both saying it at the same time or perspective, but if you're hearing someone talk about anything, we talked a little bit about it before of if instead of when, and so
yes.
How much does listening to that come into play? And then how much does forcing yourself to say when, not if, how much does that affect you on an ongoing basis? Because you talk about finding the positivity, but there's also a lot of negativity that you'll get from other people. So, I mean, either shaping or resisting, whatever. I'm interested to hear about how you help people when there's outside influence.
That's a great question. So first, any outside influence to me immediately is still about us, and it's about our own beliefs and about our limiting beliefs. And so when we choose to believe the people around us and listen to them, what happens is that it's great if they're uplifting us, but it's not so great if they're really constantly bringing us down. Now, you had a really cool thing that you just said, how you said those 2 statements, by the way. If you listen to what you said, and if people are listening to the words he said, the first one, your friend made it that he's never going to get it. His absolute words were, maybe, I hope, or whatever. Yours were when I have it, right? And so the difference right there is it shows his own limiting beliefs around everything in life. And I believe how you go about one thing is how you go about anything. And so what happens is that when I work with people around what other people, this is actually the biggest stick for every client I've ever had, whether they're a transformational leader or the teacher next door or whoever, is that we listen to the people around us and we make what they say to be true for us, even though our life experiences have been very different than theirs. And so a big part of that work is about really asking yourself the question, who am I?
I love that. Yeah,
what lights me up? What inspires me? What pushes me to want to be my best? Because those are the people and the answers and the questions and the source that people should listen to. It's yourself. But it's about getting rid of our limiting beliefs, getting rid of the chitter chatter of what's wrong with us, what we should be doing, what we could have done, how that person thinks. That's really where the work is. And when we let those things control our lives, they will.
Yeah, it definitely
and it's a choice. And so it's about repatterning and reparenting ourselves in many ways.
Reparenting, you know, it was a different world when we were kids, and you know, it's not something that was done poorly. It was just done the way that it was done. And you know, retraining yourself, reparenting, I like that metaphor. So I guess, so here's a question on size. So we talked about Lamborghinis, which are primarily a tangible thing, a monetary thing, a materialistic thing. But as you said, you know, how you do something is how you do everything. And so one of the things I determined, and I'll kind of connect that to, is that a friend of mine took me up in a plane and then kind of unexpectedly made me fly the plane when I had no experience flying planes. A different story. And that experience scared the death out of me, but also made me want to have my pilot's license and get a plane. And I realized, it took me a while, that every visualization that I had of having the plane that I want, I was never the only person in the plane. It was always with other people. And because that's a very big, important part of what I do, is that I want to help other people in a way that I wish I was helped, you know, throughout the years. And so, you know, money is often seen as something that's evil, but I was always taught that, you know, it only amplifies your personality. It's a resource that you can use. Yeah. But at the same time, you said, I think it was somewhere on your website or in a blog, it was at one point you had the limiting belief that it's too big for me to accomplish, so why even try? So how do you work with people, or how does the gift work, or how can people see where on the spectrum of their gift do they want to take it? How big do they want to take it? Because a lot of people limit themselves, but once they understand that they have no limits, where do they decide? Where does that come into play in terms of the size?
That's a great question. You know, my aha moment with that was in a big conversation with my big brother Damien, and it came when, you know, I love teaching and running schools and really supporting children and families and communities. And that's really just been my passion for a really long time. And he was like, oh, you know, come and do this or do that. And I was like, no, I'm doing great in my home in Vermont. I love it. I'm on my hill. I've got my community. I'm like, I'm set, you know. And he said, but you could do that for the world. And I said, what are you talking about? I was like, it was like, it so overloaded me, the thought of that. I was like, are you kidding me? And then the aha moment came in his reframing of it. And so just put in your minds, everyone, reframing, perspective, right? When it has such a powerful impact on everything. So he said to me, well, just look at the world as your school and the countries as your different classrooms. And I went, oh, aha, that was all I needed to go, oh my God, that's so possible. Because all I had to do was shift and reframe the way I was situating myself in the world and how I was looking at it, and that it's really that small. Our globe is that small. And at first I thought, that's way too big for me, even though I got it. I was like, wow, I see it, I got it. And I thought, oh, it's too big, it's too big. And then what I keep learning and seeing is that life offers us so many choices and so many options. And our work, I think, is to get ourselves balanced enough to be able to be awake and aware and conscious, so that we can see these opportunities that we've been dreaming of our whole lives. Sometimes they're right in front of us and we just are not in a place yet to see them. And we don't trust ourselves enough yet. And so it's about going in and doing that work. And it's not about going back and digging up where you've been and all the drama. It's about going, what were the biggest life experiences you've had, positive and negative, that have really impacted who you are and how you choose to live? And those are the places we look at. And I look at when I'm working with people. And then we source from what's right and wonderful about you. And we dive in and find that nugget where I watch it in you because you light up when you find it. And I go, oh, look at that. There it is. There's a piece of who you really are. And
I love that.
that's some of
And
the
the
work.
lighting up is a huge thing because, I mean, for years, I was told, oh, you have to work directly with people and this is how you talk to people. I love people and I love talking to people, but I'm also a nerd. And I was like, there's these things on the internet. We can like do these things. And I kept being dissuaded to not do that. And it didn't resonate with me to have this passion for computers and technology and not integrate that somehow. And it wasn't until I figured out a way, I partnered with a mentor who was all about online, that I started to see how that could happen. And the thing that a lot of people do, and I think it starts as a really great visualization, and then I think it goes in a bad way, is that people visualize, okay, well, if I get two people who get two people who get two people and so on and so forth, I'm going to be like that guy who has 20,000 people. There's two things wrong with that. One is get. You can't get people because they don't want to be gotten. And so you can work with people, you can partner with people, you can find the people that you want to partner with on your vision and help them achieve theirs. That's one piece. But the other piece is that a lot of times people jump from 222 to 20,000 and they say, oh, I'm going to have 20,000 people. And then immediately realize I'm having trouble, finding two people. How can I ever find 20,000? And they kind of forget of that contagious nature of the idea. So did you ever have a moment where you kind of got scared that you couldn't do it and then started doing it piece by piece, but then came back? Because, I mean, Discover the Gift, it's a movement. Like and the term viral was recently described to me as growing beyond what you could grow it yourself, which by definition, it has gone viral.
Yes. I guess that is very true.
And not like viruses, which I just had the flu, but different conversation.
Yes.
Good viral. Different. So I mean, that whole movement, I mean, it's people are just so connected with this. If you go and talk to someone else who's read Discover the Gift, they're like, oh, you too? You're in the... And it's just, you light up solely because you know that the other person has their own thing inside of them that they connect with. So what was the process of that? Like, how did that connect and grow? And how did that feel for you to see it grow way beyond you?
It was really beautiful. It was scary. I think it's all about really understanding that we can be scared and courageous at the same time. Fear can be there and we can go, oh, look, there it is. Hi, I see you, but I'm just going to step right by, let me just keep walking. And so it's been a process really of honoring my courage and stepping through my fear at every shot, and really realizing that I was the head of the spear for Discover the Gift, which in my initial minds when we were creating it, I was like, oh, good, it's my big brother. I'll do all my fun stuff and he can go be the spear out in the world. And the big aha moment for me was it was very different. It was actually, I'm the spear. And if I wanted to continue to go, I need to really honor everything that I say is true. And I need to walk my talk and do my work, which I always have, but all of a sudden I had to do it in a new way. Because in life and during this economy, so many people, their worlds have dropped out from underneath them financially, including myself, in the process of sharing Discover the Gift. And so I had to really believe in my own work. I had to believe in the wisdom of the teachers that I've put in Discover the Gift because they moved me and they inspired me and they continue to do so on many levels. And really, am I answering your question?
I'm trying to... It's raising another because... You were living in Vermont, which I hear is a beautiful place, and you had. It sounds like back then you were connected with who you were as a person. You knew your gift. You were connected to that.
Yes.
And then you had your aha moment, which realized that you could take this gift and spread it to the world. Now you could have just said, "Oh well, I could do that," but that's a lot of work, and I have my gift, so I don't want to. That you could have done that. Yeah. Right, and because you're talking about, okay, well, here I am inspiring others. Now I'm still going to do the same things, but I'm going to help other people do it, and that's going to come back as energy, huge energy. But the jump from here to here is a massive amount of work and effort and time and stress and things that you wouldn't have gone through, financial stress. But you made the choice to do that. So when it started to actually, when you achieved success in that and it started to grow and it started to, the movement was going and you kind of weren't necessarily creating the power anymore. It was moving for you and it was just growing organically. Where was the fear? What were you afraid of at that point?
That's such a great question. The fear is about, can I keep up with this? Can I continue to support people like this on my own? And my answer was no, I couldn't, because I'm a mom of a 10-year-old. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I run a household. I'm a director of education. Discover the Gift is my work and baby out in the world. And I needed a team. And I got really clear that in order, no matter what, I would continue to do what I'm doing. However, the choice was I was going to open the door wider and really step through another level, or I was going to go, I actually need to have self-care in another way. And that's really important, I think, in MLM work and any kind of sales work and in anything you're doing in life, period. You can't do it without yourself. So self-care is such a key piece, and we forget that, I think, in our society a lot. And I know, especially for women, and I'm going to speak for women for a moment, you know, for many women my age, I'm 45, and we were brought up with, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never, never let you forget to romance because I'm a woman. And in this commercial that I watched growing up as a child, it's a woman who's gorgeous, who comes home from work, and at the same time is whipping off her pearls and her heels, is cooking dinner, putting the kids off, and then showing her man what she's made of. This is what we expect of our women now. It's true. And it's a lot. And so really honoring yourself and your gift is about being really clear about your own energy. And in terms of selling and putting yourself out in the world or any kind of marketing, it's really about knowing your own limitations and when you need to ask for help.
I mean, you had a whole community of people that were standing behind this idea that, I mean, unlocks the potential for all of them, that unlocks all the potential for the people that they touch. And they're all excited about this, but at the same time, with any community, if there's not, you know, communication or management, or if there's not a leader, then it falls apart. Yeah. Even no matter how amazing the content is. Yeah. So how did you go about building the team? Did you reach out to your community, or did you recognize, you know, what you needed help with, and what was the process there of connecting passion with business and efficiency?
Great. It was that I realized that I couldn't continue doing things that the things I wanted to do were so much bigger than myself, I could manage. And so that was part of the fear, was the vision was really big and I could see it, and I would attempt to just do it all, and then I would get tired. And so that was really realizing it was so big and that it was beyond me, and that I needed somebody who's a technical genius. My brother said to me, I said to him once, because we have a big film studio, and not really big, but it's independent, but big. It's got its stuff going on, and it's partly mine, except I have no clue how to run any of the equipment. I know how to direct people around the equipment, but I have no idea what to do with it. And so he said to me, you have to get your own pilot. You need your own pilot who can run this and do the things you need to have done so that you can move forward in the world with Discover the Gift and all your projects and your teachings. And I was like, okay. So I had to find a pilot. And interestingly enough, the way I found the pilot was by sharing myself. Now, this is the funny thing that I want everyone to really hear, is that when we really share ourselves, we become that light, and we become the light for other people who are like-hearted, like-minded, and interested in the things that we're doing. And then they get attracted to that light, and it becomes a magnet. And then like finds like, water finds its level. And so when we look at universal principles and we apply them to everyday living, we can see how we've all been living within these all along. And we actually speak them in different ways.
Being able to see them is so clarifying. And the more you're able to make them in some way tangible, the more you're able to see them more and more and more.
Exactly. And so what I had to do was show up really as myself more and more powerfully for me to get the team that I needed on board. And so that started happening because I started going, all right, I'm ready to speak. Interestingly enough, I don't ever go look for interviews or speaking engagements or anything like that. I say yes to the ones that come my way that are a good match for me. And that's pretty much how that happens. And that's kind of unheard of sometimes in the world, but it's really just about me finally at 45 going, yeah, I can speak my mind and it's okay. You know, that's part of it. It's like people really honoring, as long as we're having conscious, compassionate communication, what you have to say is important,
and that's
even if I don't like it.
I think with practice, it's much easier to see if that's genuine coming from someone else, if it resonates. But the thing that I always love, because for me, it came easier to do this first before it came from the in-person perspective, is the digital. And so reading an email from someone, or a Facebook message or a text message, whatever it may be, and reading the intention behind that, how has that process been for you? Because it seems like we're kind of, flip-flopped on that side.
Well, since I've always been into writing, the connecting online is really, I love it. And I feel, for whatever reason, most of the time I can feel energetically what's up in the writing and the intention behind it. And I really like that. And I wanted to,
absolutely.
Can I go back to the team thing for a moment? I want to chat about that for a minute, because I want to talk about how it shows up for people. Is you have to be open and receptive, right? That's number one. You have to be open and clear about what it is that you want to have happen. And so I started doing these other, saying yes to speaking engagements I might otherwise have said no to, and started sharing. I'm really looking for real, you asked how I did it. And so it was one by showing up, and it was speaking.
Gigs prior?
Because they might not have been a match for me, or they might have been, I have to find a babysitter that's going to cost me a bunch of money, go drive 2 hours out of my way, figure out my child's life, come home, and without getting paid. Yes, it was easier to say no unless it's worth the time and energy and effort. And again, it's about honoring ourselves and our energy, right? Because then when we focus our energy on something we really want to do, we have it there to give. And so what happened is I started asking and being really clear, and that's a key thing, ask. We're all so afraid to ask for help, and it's actually a blessing. When someone asks me for help, I feel honored. I'm like, wow, that person came to me and asked me for help, and that's true of so many other people. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And what happened was my vice president of my company showed up, and my pilot showed up. All of a sudden at some event, there's this woman who is an amazing live streamer, full-on techie, can manage everything in the studio that I could ever imagine and more, because I asked myself and out loud.
For me recently, I had a friend over for dinner. I've known them I've known the family for probably 8 years. And we're sitting on the couch, and I was like, oh man, I just need a project manager. And then we started talking. And I don't think it actually was that. She asked me about what I was doing, and then it led to, I was like, wait a second, I know your entire work history for the last 8 years. You're perfect. And we both kind of simultaneously realized that. And it's, if you put it out there, a lot of people are very afraid to share, either from how people will see them, but also from, I think they think that someone might take advantage or they might manipulate, but it comes back. And it's hard to explain. Read the book. It does. The more you give,
the more you give, the more you get of anything. And that's such a great concept to understand, and whether it's good or bad. And one of I'm sorry, I have such a bad cold, but Scott Peterson in Discover the Gift says it so beautifully. What he says is, give energy to the things you love and take energy away from the things you don't love. And that is a really simple recipe for living a happy, joyful life.
It's simple, but it's powerful in its simplicity.
Yes. Awesome. Yes, exactly. And if you apply that to everything you're doing around you, it starts to get really clear. Wow, I love that. I'm going to give energy there. Ooh, I don't love that. Let me not focus there.
It takes away power from those things that have negative energy as well.
Exactly, and it just diffuses them and has them go away.
I have 2 more questions for you that are more action-oriented questions. Okay. So I think you've answered this, and I'm gonna guess at your answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Who or what was the catalyst for your success in creating and sharing Discover the Gift?
Who or what was this? Myself.
Why do you say that? Because you're not the first person to say that.
Because I had to be willing. I had to be really willing to step into my power and my authentic self and really take the steps to live the life I want to live, because like anything else, it begins with you, right? And it begins with me. And if I want that and I desire something, I have to be my own catalyst.
And the next one's a little bit, so take some time with answering this, but who from history, if they were alive today, would be killing it or just awesome with the concept of connecting with the discover the gift. They would have their gift and be sharing it with other people, and why?
Who from history? Bob Marley.
Good answer. And
Thank you.
I can extrapolate a few reasons, but why would you say Bob Marley?
Because he was a prophet and he was before his time, and he really talked about one love and the things that now we speak about so commonly within our transformational world. And if you actually go back and read his writings and the songs he chose, whether they were his or not, they are all speaking some really powerful stuff. And interestingly enough, someone said to me, in one of some big other interview I had too, someone said to me, well, who was, that one person that did that for you? And they were naming like these leaders in these places. And I was like, none of them. And the truth was, for me, was who taught me these things. Where are these messages in my being? They're from Bob Marley and the music I heard growing up. And those were the messages that have come through me consistently and ongoing.
I have a whole playlist, and same reason.
Yeah, me too. And it's just beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful messages.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that. I mean, we'll have links below to your website, as well as I'm going to link to the really awesome promo video that you have for Discover the Gift, which I think communicates and excites the fact that I rarely say that everyone should do something. Everyone should look at the book and the movie, and it's something that helps people to connect with themselves. And it's not a method; it's a guide, and it's a process that helps you connect with you. It's not you need to find this within you. It's the process to find whatever it is within you. So thank you so much, and look forward to having you on again soon.
Thank you.